In this module, we move from compliance evidence to executive action. You'll see how control matrices, vendor findings, risk registers, and remediation data become clear dashboards, risk narratives, and decision points for leaders overseeing AI governance. You've built the core pieces of an AI compliance program: inventories, data flows, risk taxonomy, regulatory mappings, NIST governance controls, evidence, and vendor risk inputs. Now the focus shifts from documentation to communication, turning the control matrix into reporting that leaders can understand, trust, and act on. Governance reporting is the translation layer between detailed compliance work and executive action. It pulls from inventories, risk registers, controls, evidence, vendors, and incidents, then turns that information into a clear risk story. Leaders should be able to see whether exposure is rising, stable, decreasing, or unresolved. Most importantly, the report should drive decisions: fund remediation, accept risk, update policy, or escalate issues through the right governance forum. Governance reporting should start from one source of truth, then adapt the view for each audience. Executives need the risk story: trends, business impact, accountability, and decisions. Legal and compliance need defensible evidence: regulatory exposure, DPIA progress, exceptions, and gaps. Security and engineering need action detail: control failures, incidents, dependencies, and remediation. Product and operations need readiness signals: user impact, vendor risk, launch blockers, and operational impact. Same facts, different lenses. Traceability is what makes executive reporting credible. Use the AI system inventory as the anchor for scope, ownership, and accountability. Each metric should connect back to a control, risk, obligation, system, business owner, and evidence source. Before data reaches a dashboard, validate it, normalize it, apply consistent calculation rules, and summarize it for governance use. Keep the raw technical records available underneath, so executives get readable insight without losing auditability. Good governance reporting reduces AI compliance into a small set of decision-ready signals. Leaders need to know whether the inventory is complete and whether every system has an owner and risk rating. They also need exposure indicators: high-risk systems, sensitive data, and automated decisions. Control posture shows what is broken or overdue. Operational readiness shows whether reviews, incidents, DPIAs, and vendors are under control. Every metric should have evidence: an owner, a frequency, and a threshold. The inventory is still the foundation. Each AI system should have an owner, purpose, data profile, deployment status, vendor dependency, and regulatory obligations. From there, classify exposure: PI personal data, automated decisions, safety impact, and compliance sensitivity all raise the risk tier. Treat missing inventory fields as risk signals, not paperwork gaps. Over time, leaders should see completeness improving, while high-risk and critical systems become clearer, owned, and actively managed. Gap reporting turns compliance uncertainty into a management action list. Start by classifying each missing control against the relevant obligation, such as HIPAA, GDPR, NIST CSF 2.0, or internal AI policy. Then prioritize by severity, affected system, data sensitivity, and regulatory exposure. Remediation tracking adds the accountability layer: owner, due date, status, dependencies, and evidence still needed. Anything critical, overdue, or repeatedly delayed should move into governance escalation, rather than stay buried in operational tracking. Reporting should also prove that AI controls are operating, not just documented. Start with incident trends by type: data exposure, model abuse, prompt injection, unauthorized access, and output errors. Then show whether privileged access reviews are complete for admins, data scientists, vendors, and service accounts. Pair that with response metrics such as time to detect, time to contain, and open alerts. When patterns repeat, tie them directly to remediation owners and control improvements. Privacy governance cannot be treated as a legal review at the end. It needs to be built into AI oversight. Executives should know which systems have completed DPIAs, which still carry unresolved privacy risks, and whether automated decisions can be explained, reviewed, and challenged. They also need confidence that people can exercise their rights, including access, correction, deletion, objection, and explanation. Gaps in lawful basis, sensitive data handling, or cross-border transfers should be escalated early. Third-party AI risk reporting should make vendor exposure traceable, not just score-based. A high-risk supplier matters most when it supports critical AI functions, handles sensitive data, relies on subcontractors, or creates regulatory dependency. Governance reporting should link each vendor to due diligence status, contract protections, audit rights, incident terms, and supporting evidence. From there, unresolved gaps become actionable. Delayed launches, restricted data use, compensating controls, or cost impacts leaders can prioritize. Risk acceptance is not a shortcut. It is a controlled decision. Document the scenario, impacted AI system, regulatory exposure, business need, and residual risk. Then add compensating controls that limit harm while the gap remains open. Approval should match severity, data sensitivity, and compliance impact. Every exception needs a start date, expiration date, renewal criteria, and escalation triggers. Reporting keeps these decisions visible, so temporary exceptions do not become permanent blind spots. Those exception decisions also need the right level of authority. System owners and compliance leads may handle lower-risk exceptions, while privacy, security, executive committees, or the board should own higher-impact decisions. Review timing should follow the same logic, with critical exceptions checked monthly and moderate ones quarterly. Escalate immediately when approvals expire, controls fail, incidents occur, or regulatory exposure changes. Keep every exception in one register tied to controls and evidence. For executives, the dashboard should answer one question: what decision is needed now? Summarize the overall posture, then show where risk is concentrated, whether incidents and remediation are trending in the right direction, and which frameworks still have gaps. The most valuable section is the decision panel. Fund fixes, accept residual risk, delay launch, or escalate a vendor issue. Governance reporting turns compliance artifacts into decisions. Metrics should be traceable and repeatable, exceptions clearly approved and time-bound, and dashboards focused on trends, coverage, risks, and actions. In Module 6, you'll bring it all together through scope, risk, controls, evidence, and an executive-ready capstone package.